You wouldn't believe the monstrous things teenagers are capable of. My name is Knox, and today I'm going to tell you stories that will send chills down your spine. Just imagine, one guy stabbed his classmate 114 times, another coldly shot a student just because he didn't have any money, and two best friends brutally took out a girl because they got tired of her. These crimes shock with their brutality, and the motives often raise more questions than answers. Are you ready to find out how teenagers turn into cold-blooded criminals? These crimes are shocking in their brutality, and the motives sometimes raise more questions than answers. Are you ready to find out how teenagers turn into cold-blooded criminals? Then let's get started. Aiden Fucci is just an ordinary 14-year-old kid from the suburbs, at first glance. But he became the perpetrator of one of the most brutal crimes. On Mother's Day, 13-year-old Tristan Bailey went missing. Everyone was looking for her, friends, family, neighbors. But a few hours later, her body was found in the woods. 114 stab wounds. Just think about it, 114. This wasn't an accident, it wasn't a fight, it was a real execution. The police quickly tracked down Aiden. Cameras caught him with Tristan that night, and later he was found alone, wearing blood-stained clothes. The evidence was undeniable. Fucci even took selfies in the police car, laughing about the situation. It's horrifying, isn't it? In court, he calmly admitted his guilt. The judge handed down the sentence: life in prison with the possibility of parole in 25 years. What do you think drives a teenager to do something like that? Dark motives, indifference, or something else? Let's dig deeper. Two teenagers, one baseball bat, one park, and a dead teacher. Do you already feel that chill running down your spine? So let's figure out how two 16-year-old guys went from being regular students to killers that shook all of America. Noma Graber, a 66-year-old Spanish teacher from Fairfield, Iowa, went missing after walking in a park. It was her usual route after work. But that day, she didn't come back. The next day, her body was found under a tarp and some railroad ties. The cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head from a baseball bat. And here's the scariest part. It was her students who did it, Willard Miller and Jeremy Goodell. It all started when Miller got a bad grade. Instead of fixing it, he decided to kill the teacher. They came up with a plan together with Goodell. They ambushed Noma in the park, hit her with a bat, dragged her into the woods, and hid her body. And it all happened because of a grade. The most shocking thing is that the teenagers didn't even try to hide their involvement. They were discussing the murder on Snapchat, sharing details, and even joking about it. These messages became the main evidence against them. In court, Miller said, "I deeply regret my actions." Goodell added, "Every day I think about what I did, and I wish I could change it." But their words didn't change the verdict. The judge sentenced Miller to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 35 years, and Goodell to 25 years. What goes on in the minds of people like that? There are even more shocking stories ahead. When a teenager decides to take their own life, it's always a tragedy. But what if he decides to take others with him? 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirillo from Ohio caused a crash that killed her boyfriend and his friend. The scariest part is that it was premeditated murder. That day, Mackenzie got behind the wheel, knowing her goal was death. She was speeding at 100 miles per hour until her car crashed into a building. Her boyfriend and his friend died on the spot. Mackenzie miraculously survived. In court, prosecutors argued that the girl had planned the crash in advance. Friends of the deceased boyfriend said that she had threatened him, acted aggressively, and even broke into his house. In the days leading up to the crash, Mackenzie even drove the same route, as if she were rehearsing the crime. When the judge was reading the sentence, she was crying and said, "I would never have done this on purpose. I regret it. I regret it." But the judge was unyielding. A failed suicide attempt can't be an excuse for murder. You will receive 2 life sentences of 15 years each. Mackenzie listened to the sentence, crying, but that won't bring back the lives of those she killed. And this story shocked all of America with its senseless brutality. Imagine, it's a regular evening in Milwaukee. Nathan Potter, a University of Wisconsin student, is leaving the bar calmly, unaware that these moments will be his last. At that moment, two teenagers are already watching him, including 18-year-old Shondell Jackson. Their goal is simple and cynical: find a victim, rob them, and get away. Jackson and his friend follow Nathan, attack him, and demand money. But the student doesn't have any cash. And that's when Jackson does something unthinkable. He pulls out a gun and shoots. The shot is fatal, and Nathan dies on the spot. The killers just walk away as if nothing happened. After that, Jackson tries to go into hiding. He heads to Mississippi to lay low. But justice catches up with him. His uncle, shocked by what happened, informs the police about his nephew's whereabouts. Shondell is arrested and brought back to Milwaukee for trial. In court, Jackson sits with his head held high, as if he doesn't realize what he's done. In the footage, you can see him gesturing towards the victim's family, and then he allows himself to smile. Shondell's mother is in tears in court, saying, "I found out about this on TV. When I heard that someone had killed a student, I even started crying. I found out about this on TV. When I heard that someone killed a student, I even burst into tears. I never would have thought my son could do something like that. He's not a monster. No, he's not a monster." But the mother's words don't save Jackson. The judge announces the verdict: life in prison without the possibility of parole. And what does Jackson do himself? He finally loses his composure. In the footage, you can see him overwhelmed with emotions, but it's too late. This is the punishment for cold-blooded murder. His friend, who was a witness, gets just 12 years. Shondell's fate is shocking. But if you think this is the creepiest story, you're wrong. This is Brandon Spencer in Los Angeles County Court, where he was charged with 4 counts of attempted murder. The guy went on a mass shooting. On Halloween night, 19-year-old Spencer attended a packed party on the campus of the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. Suddenly, shots rang out, and panic ensued. Everyone scattered, some in terror, while others hid. According to reports, Spencer also ran away, but he was stopped in a parking lot half a mile from the scene, where the police detained him for questioning. A few days later, he was charged with 4 counts of attempted murder. 4 people were injured, but thankfully, no one died. The shooting was the result of a conflict between Spencer and a member of a rival gang. "I'm a good person, but I made a mistake," Spencer said. He maintained his innocence throughout the trial, but the jury didn't buy it, and he was found guilty of second-degree attempted murder. Almost 50 family members and friends filled the courtroom as the judge announced the sentence. Court officers had to restrain Spencer as he was banging his head against the table. Reports say Brandon was sentenced to 40 years to life for 4 counts of attempted murder. But let's move on. And this is Mardice Fuller in the Kenosha County Court, Wisconsin. He's accused of murdering his ex-girlfriend and attempting to kill her mother. Reports say that 15-year-old Mardice Fuller broke into his ex-girlfriend's house armed with a gun. When his ex-girlfriend was listening to music in her bedroom, he shot her. The mother came out of her bedroom and confronted the shooter, who responded by firing 2 shots. The mother survived the shooting and identified Mardice Fuller to the police. The guy claimed he was innocent, but the jury didn't buy it. "We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder," the court stated. After they found Fuller guilty on 3 counts, he finally showed some emotion in court for the first time. Even during his sentencing, Fuller continued to insist that he was innocent, and just moments before he was sent to prison for the rest of his life, he prepared a statement for the court. "I want to write this to express my sincere apologies to this family that I once spent time with and loved. I am truly sorry for the pain you have all gone through, but more importantly for the loss of my ex-girlfriend Kaylee, who I also loved. But I have to keep standing by my innocence because I am innocent, and I hope that you all can eventually see in your hearts that I'm not the person the media has made me out to be. The judge announced the sentence. I can't take your word for it, believing that you'll never do something like this again. So, in the interest of protecting society, given the seriousness of these actions, the court sentences you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Fuller listened to this in silence, without any remorse. Terrible, right? And this is Dylan Shoemaker in the Buffalo court, New York. He's at a hearing for second-degree murder after being found guilty of killing a 23-month-old baby when he was 16 years old. Why did he do it? Let me tell you. Shoemaker was watching his girlfriend's baby while she went to work that evening. He was in a house in Springville that he shared with his parents. Late at night, Shoemaker beat the child, and as a result of the injuries, the baby died. Later, Shoemaker was arrested and charged with the murder of the infant, as well as child abuse. Shoemaker, by his own account, was trying to make the baby stop crying and didn't want to hurt him. The death was accidental. Do we believe him? Well, the jury didn't believe him, and Shoemaker was found guilty of second-degree murder. Watch closely as Shoemaker enters the courtroom. Even before he could sit down at the defense table, he starts crying and apologizing to everyone. I didn't want to kill Austin. I really didn't know. I honestly think I didn't do it. I didn't want to hurt him. While Shoemaker was waiting for his trial, he was on the phone with his mom. And that conversation was recorded. What did Shoemaker say to his mom on the phone? I'm a 16-year-old blonde. I guess all I need to do is cry in front of the jury, and they'll feel sorry for me. And the judge read it word for word in the courtroom, after which the guy started crying again. I can't take what I've done. I would give my life for Austin. Shoemaker was later sentenced to the maximum penalty, which carries an indeterminate term of imprisonment with a maximum term of life imprisonment. The court set a minimum sentence of 25 years, but that sentence was later changed to 18 years to life imprisonment. Rachel and Sheila stand trial accused of murdering their friend when they were just 16 years old. Why did they do it? Their plan was to hide knives under their clothes and attack Skylar at a predetermined moment. In the town of Star City, West Virginia, Cha and Eddie were friends with 16-year-old Skylar niece. Reportedly, Sheila and Rachel decided they no longer liked Skylar, so they planned to kill her. Sheila, Eddie, and Rachel all carried out this plan together. They stabbed and killed Skylar. Following Cha's confession, both teenagers were arrested. Cha agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for cooperating in the case. I'm so sorry. I don't know if there's a right way to make this apology, because there are no words to describe the guilt and remorse I feel every day for what I've done. I caused pain to Skylar's family and to those who loved her. I hurt my parents and brought shame to my family. May God grant eternal peace to Skylar and the entire niece family. After reaching a deal with the prosecutor, the judge announces the sentence. Rachel Cha, the court sentences you to serve 30 years in the West Virginia State Prison. But you'll have the chance for parole in 10 years. Eddie had a similar ruling. The court has sentenced you to serve your time in the West Virginia State Prison for the rest of your natural life. This sentence is technically lenient, which makes you eligible for parole after you serve a certain number of years. Jennifer Mee from Penelli's is just 19 years old. She was arrested on charges of first-degree murder. When she was 15, she became really famous because of memes and reports about her unusual hiccups. She was even initially called the Hiccup Girl, but that all ended when her episode stopped. The media lost interest in her until she got arrested. She was even initially called the Hiccup Girl, but that all ended when her episode stopped. The media lost interest in her until she got arrested. The girl was accused of orchestrating robberies with victims she met online. Reportedly, she recruited her then-boyfriend, Lamont Newton, and another friend, Lauren Rafer, to help rob the victims. Mata, 22-year-old man she found online and lured him to an empty house, where two of her friends robbed and shot him. They were paid $50 for the robbery and murder. Rafer, and Newton lived together, and the police couldn't track down this young gang right away. When was first arrested, she was in jail and talking on the phone with her mother, where she confessed to her involvement. This conversation was recorded. Was found guilty of first-degree murder. Here are the clips of the sentencing. Please come to the stand. The court finds you guilty of first-degree murder, NISME, and sentences you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. You have 30 days to file an appeal. Her accomplices, Rafer and Newton, were also convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. You can see the girl break down in tears, realizing she'll spend her whole life behind bars. Each of these stories shows how one decision can ruin the lives of many people. These young people lost everything, and their actions will forever serve as a reminder of what recklessness and cruelty can lead to. If you're into videos like this, make sure to subscribe. And if you need a job, you know how to write scripts, have editing or voiceover skills, then you have the opportunity to join our team. Write to our Telegram bot. The link is in the description. See you next time.